Hello, subscribers. This is Chuck Carnevale, co-founder of FastGraphs, the Fundamentals Analyzer software tool. And this will be the fourth demo video that I've produced here, helping subscribers better utilize the research tool. There's a lot of power that FastGraphs have, and many investors I found are not really fully aware of all that power. So we're developing this tutorial/demo series to try to help you get the maximum value out of this really great subscription tool that we offer here. And today, this fourth iteration of our demo, I'm going to take a look at what's really an unsung hero, if you will, of the FastGraphs, and that's our portfolio portion. Now, we offer portfolios to both premium and basic subscribers. Basic subscribers get 3 portfolios they can build. Premium subscribers get a lot more. So I'm going to be talking about the premium subscriber here and what you get from a standpoint of portfolios. Now, FastGraphs, as you know, was developed to help you make better long-term investment decisions, to be able to analyze the businesses that you either own or are interested in owning, to be able to recognize how well they've run as a company, be able to see what valuations are available when they really make a great deal of sense. So you could discover really great investment choices like I have here on the screen with Snap-on, an A- rated company with 22% debt, trading at a blended PE of only 12. I've been able to find this, but the thing about it is that's great, and that's a great attribute of the tool. But not only can you research stocks deeper and faster, which is an important function of FastGraphs, you also have this portfolio section, which can actually help you manage your portfolios better, more efficiently, and more effectively. So what I want to do today is introduce you to the portfolio section of FastGraphs and show you how much value it can actually bring to you as a subscriber. Now, number one is this is a demo version. I've only got 2 portfolios up here. I could build as many of these portfolios as I want. Starting at the bottom line here, I just simply enter the name, input a few stocks, hit create portfolio, and boom, you're ready to go. But this feature also comes with 15 preloaded portfolios here. As you can see, we've got ADRs, we got the dividend challengers, champions, and contenders that Justin Law takes care of right now. He's the curator for. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Fortune 500, Canadian REITs, all REITs. We've got S&P Dividend Aristocrats. Companies have increased their dividends by 25 years or more. And then we got the Canadian Dividend Aristocrats, which are 5-year consecutive dividend increases, the S&P 500, S&P Midcap, etc. Now, this turns out to be a really great screening tool, but it can also be a tool that can help you evaluate the market. So let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial. Now, to do that, I'm going to hit this review section. Now, I've not set anything up here because I want you to see how easy it is to set up a portfolio review. You go into this custom portfolio tab here, and now you've got all these options of things that you can utilize to create the portfolio you want to look at. Now, the ticker and the name are preloaded, but then I can go and add the S&P credit rating by just clicking that button. And you can see now that I've added the credit rating here to the bottom of the graph. I can go to the GIC sector, the GICS industry, and the GICS sub-industry, as well as the GICS industry group if I chose to. Then what I like to do, I like to put PE ratio. I don't care too much about price because I can see that on the FastGraph, but you could put it on there if you wanted. I want to look at price to cash flow. I want to look at earnings yield. I want to look at cash flow yield, and I want to look at dividend yield, and I want to look at market cap, and I want to look at long-term debt to capital. This is a core way that I build these portfolios. Now, this is all what we call the general and the current price and performance section of the customization. Now, you can also then add things like historical growth. I got historical earnings growth that I've added. I could, do 10-year, then maybe 15-year or 20. I'll go ahead and do 20-year. So you can add those in here. Now, this can be moved. I can move this to where the PE ratios are. So I have a lot of flexibility with this particular tool. Now, I also can look at estimated total annualized rate of return based on our forecasting calculator. I can put that, with the PE ratio and the growth rate if I want to, so I can move these columns around. I can put total EPS growth, the total actual growth rate if I want, relative to the PE ratio, so I can help calculate the P equals growth or the PEG ratios if I want. I've also got cash flow growth potential. So there's a lot of features here that you can add to this portfolio feature, but I'm going to stop there for now. Now, here's what's important. This is a very important point. Once you've set this up the way you like it, hit this save button. And once it turns green there, you've now saved this. So every time you open this portfolio under your subscription, you will be able to see these columns suggested like they are. Now, what these columns are very, very powerful. Now, I'm going to increase this to where I have all, so I can now scroll through all the this is the 30 stocks on the Dow Jones. But I want to say, what's the Dow Jones look like from a valuation point of view? Well, I like to see an earnings yield of about 6.5 or 7%, which is a PE of 15. So I can now go in and I can hit the PE column here. I can click on it, and this will sort it by lowest to highest. And by the way, Boeing has no PE because they have no earnings now, if you've been following it. The lowest multiple of PE ratio stock on the Dow Jones is Walgreens Boots Alliance, followed by IBM, and so on and so forth. But as I scroll down, I start to get PE ratios above 15, and that's where you start to see the company's earnings yield, which is this column here. Now I can move this over and put them together if I want. If I like it that way, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and save it, because that way I'll keep those columns together in the future. Again, it's a matter of personal preference. But I can also then click on earnings yield as another valuation. Now here, the highest earnings yield is going to be the lowest valuation or the biggest opportunity. But I can do this to just review to see what the valuation of the market is. I can do that with, all of these different 15 preloaded portfolios here, including the entire S&P 500. I click the review button just to remind you of what to do. I go ahead and I customize the tool. I add my items that I personally like to look at. And I'm just going to do it real quickly here for you. Go ahead and do market cap and do debt to capital. Then once I've done that, I'm going to save it. I'm not going to add any more for this particular demonstration. But like another thing I can do is I can move debt to capital. I can look at the highest to lowest debt to capital. So if I want to find companies with low debt, or even no debt, I've got that. Now, again, I can click this all button here, and this allows me to scroll through the entire S&P 500. This in its own right can be a great screening tool. I can do that with the dividend aristocrats. I can do it with the dividend champions or the dividend contenders. So I've got a lot of power in the preloaded portfolios that can help me actually serve as a screening tool. To be honest with you, although we do offer a screening function, which is for another demo, I do most of my screening right out of these portfolios here personally, because I have a very clear idea. I want low PE ratios. I want high earnings yields. I'm also building dividend growth portfolios. So, I look for certain minimum dividend levels that I can then screen for and look. But that's not the best part of the Fast Graph portfolio feature. I want to get down to the custom portfolios now. And I'm going to show you how to build this. I'm just going to do this very quickly. I'm just going to type my name here and call this Chuck. Okay, and I'm going to hit add this portfolio. Then what I do is I put in some tickers. I'm going to put General Motors, Visa, Home Depot, Ford, Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, whatever. So I'm just going to do these 4 or 5 here, and I hit update. Okay, and what I've done is I've created a third portfolio here called Chuck. It has 6 tickers. Now I can go through this just like I did before, as I showed you before. Once I hit the portfolio review, I've got these 6 tickers. I can go ahead and create this portfolio review that I like, that I personally am comfortable with. I've got all these choices here. I'm just clicking buttons now, just to show you that you can do this. And then you can move these around, and you can, sort them by highest to lowest, highest PEs to lowest, lowest PEs to highest, earnings yield, lowest to highest, highest to lowest, etc. But once I've set this up and I like it, I remember to save my view. So building a portfolio is literally that easy and that quick. So I just simply type in the symbols in the edit tickers bar, and removing a portfolio is equally as easy. And as premium subscribers, you get unlimited options to build as many of these as you want. I can go in here then and just delete these symbols, hit update, and the portfolio Chuck now is gone. Now, another feature that's extremely valuable about the portfolios is the ability to price your own portfolio and then keep track of how good your decisions have been and how well your stocks have actually been performing. That is also quite simple to do. You simply go into the Edit BS, that stands for Edit Buys and Sells. So I've already created the portfolio. I've got the portfolio review. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with that again for you, just so you see it. I'm going to hit the portfolio review. I'm going to customize my portfolio review. This is my actual income portfolio here. It's a demo, but it's pretty close to an actual portfolio. Here's price, cash flow, PE, earnings yield, cash flow yield, dividend yield, market cap, debt to capital. These are the features that I like the most. I also want to maybe look at historical growth rates. I can do 10 and 20 years. I could even do 5, 10, and 20 years if I want, just by clicking that. I want to see what my earnings growth is going to be. I might want to see what my trend line longer term earnings growth is going to be. I might want to see what cash flow growth is going to be, et cetera. But I can create these. And again, I can move these all around so that I can, put them next to I can put the growth rate next to the PE, et cetera. I save my view and I now have this portfolio. So this is an actual portfolio. It's an income portfolio. And I can now look at my portfolio and say, okay, I've got 25 stocks in the portfolio. I've kind of got that covered up here with my pretty face, but I've got 25 stocks in this portfolio. And I'm going to close this just for consistency here. And I can say, okay, what's the valuation of the stocks I own? Now, I can go through here and hit PE ratios. Now, I've got Realty Income on here with a very high PE, but this is a REIT. So I automatically know to look at FFO, price to cash flow or price to FFO, and I've got an 18 FFO, and I've got a cash flow yield of 5.55%, which would tell me that this is just a smidgen overvalued to my liking at least. But I can look at Microsoft then and see that it's got a high PE. The earnings yield is actually only 3% and it's very low. So, that tells me that this is one of the higher valued stocks in my portfolio. And again, I've got 25 stocks. So I hit this 25 button. I can scroll through all of them. I can scroll through them by ticker order. I can scroll through them by name order. I can look at them from credit ratings, lowest to highest, highest to lowest. And I can evaluate my portfolio a lot of different ways, just as quickly as I'm talking and showing this and doing this demo for you. But that's not the best part. The best part is that if I go back into my portfolios here, I want you to see how I do this because it's important. I go into my portfolios and I go into my edit, buy, sell tab here, and I get these columns and I can import these in from an Excel spreadsheet or a brokerage statement, but I've got buys and then I also have sells, which are marked by SL. I've got the trade date, the number of shares, the total amount of money invested in each position, and then the price per share. So I've done all that. I've got all this loaded into this. So now what I can do is I can really evaluate my portfolio from a standpoint of how well are each of my stocks in the portfolio doing. So I go back here, I go to the portfolio review, very simple. I open it up. I'm going to look at stocks. I'm going to, expand this so I can look at all my stocks so I can cover them all. I'm going to start out here with Johnson & Johnson. This is one that's been in the portfolio a long time. I happen to know that it's my portfolio, as you would too. I can now see that I bought Johnson & Johnson on April 2nd, 2009. I bought 420 shares, paid $53. That gives me a cost of $22,400. If I click on that while I'm in here, I now then can go up to what yesterday's close was, and I can calculate what my performance has been over the time frame that I've owned it. So this really helps me keep track. I can also see that I bought it at an attractive valuation, which says this was a really good time to buy Johnson & Johnson. But I also recognize here, this is important, that I've got some overvaluation here relative to what the current earnings are, but only modestly. Johnson & Johnson is still, I'm going to say, fully valued right now, but certainly not overvalued. So I can look at each stock in my portfolio in this manner by doing that. Now, additionally, once I've done that, I've got my income portfolio listed here, and I've got a listing of all the 15 preloaded plus the portfolios that I have. So I can pick my portfolios here if I want to. But right now, I'm going to stay in the my income portfolio, and I'm going to go look at Microsoft and look at what my decisions got to buy and to sell. For the buy decision, I put a green dot. I bought Microsoft, if you will, and this is hypothetical here. In this case, about 2,000 shares at $26.66 at a cost of $53,320. The PE was 11.6, which was obviously very, very attractive for Microsoft. I went ahead and sold half of my position. I originally bought 2,000 shares. When the stock got significantly overvalued by my calculations and my estimation, I went ahead and sold half. My rate of return, from since I sold it, the 1,000 shares that I sold, I've lost a very substantial rate of return on that. But having said that, if I go back to where I originally bought the stock and look at where I sold half of it, I invested a nice amount of money. I averaged over 21% a year on the time frame I owned it. Now, up here in the top, then we have this transactions file. And this is also part of the portfolio functionality. I can click on the transactions, and now I can say, okay, I bought 2,000 on October 29th, 2010. My average cost per share was $28.66, if I can see that correctly. I I invested a total of $53,320, or is that $63,000? I can't really see the numbers here for the way I'm sitting. And I sold out for $143,000. I sold 1,000 shares. I still have 1,000 shares left. It's worth $197,000. So even though I might have sold early in this case, I can still pat myself on the back and say, hey, I made a huge profit and I'm playing on house money here and left it run. But the point is, the portfolio feature of this tool allows me to make these kind of decisions. But I can look at relatively new transactions that I've just made as well. So I can keep track of my whole portfolio. I can look at decisions I made years ago, like Johnson & Johnson, or a decision I made more recently, like in Bristol Myers Squibb, that just recently came into attractive valuation. Similarly, I can look at a stock like Prudential that was just recently added to the portfolio after we had this COVID thing, and the valuation got compelling with a dividend yield that was well over 7%. But I can see all of these decisions that I've made and when I've made them and how I've made them. And now when I want to look at something like a REIT, the first thing I want to do is I want to bring the symbol up, but I want to then go to operating cash flow, because I want to look at REITs from a standpoint of FFO. And of course, FastGraphs automatically does that for you. So you can see that we bought Omega Healthcare in this portfolio back on January 22nd. We bought 2,692 shares at $24.65, $66,000 cost basis. I can go up into the transaction file. That's currently worth $76,000. But more importantly, I can go through here and say, what has been my rate of return? Even with the stock now being undervalued, I still averaged 8.7%. My original investment on a $10,000 basis has grown to $11,000. That's 15% growth. I picked up 7,000 dividends per 10,000. I've averaged 8.7%. So I can look at it from that metaphorical perspective, but then I can also look at it from a total transactions perspective. So the portfolio functionality of FastGraphs are a very, very valuable part of our tool. They can really help you manage your money better. They can be a great screening tool. You can have a portfolio of watch stocks, growth stock watch stocks, dividend watch stocks. You can create sell lists. You can create lists of portfolios. You can create as many of these portfolios as you want to make here. But I also want to really emphasize the value and power of these 15 preloaded portfolios, because I can go to the S&P 500 like I, showed you earlier. Once I've got it, loaded, it doesn't take that long to load. I'm loading over 500 stocks here. I'll go ahead and open it up so I can look at all of them. And then I can say, hey, what's valuation look like? Where's the highest valuations? Where's the lowest valuations? You've got companies up here that are trading at just, nosebleed valuations, but you also got plenty of stocks in the S&P that are trading at very low valuations. Like I always say, it's a market of stocks, not a stock market. I can look for dividend yields. Which stocks don't pay any dividend at all, but I can also say what are the highest yielding stocks in the S&P 500. And then, of course, I can ask why, and I can scroll down here and I can look for, if I have a dividend target, let's say a 4.7%, I can find that target here. So there's many, many things that I can do with the portfolio feature of FastGraphs. Now, I can also manage my portfolios with FastGraphs. Once I'm in the portfolio, let's say I brought up my income portfolio like I did here. Okay, and let me bring up, a stock that I own in the portfolio. And I've looked at it here and I say, okay, this was a pretty good decision on General Dynamics. I bought it after it had been overvalued for years. This might be one that I would say be interested in adding to as an example now. So if I had money, this would say, hey, I'm going to buy more because I really like this company. I bought it at a great value here. I've only owned it a short period of time. I can buy more. But then let's say, I come across another stock that I really like, and this would be a good example. I come across Snap-on Tools here. Now, here's what I like about this stock. It's a very high quality company, A- rated. It only has 22% long-term debt to capital. Very, very hard to find that in today's world. The stock is very attractive to me. It's trading at a blended PE of 12.3. It's got a dividend yield of 3.3%, an earnings yield of 8.9%. Hey, I really like this company. I think I'm going to add it to my portfolio. And so I go ahead and I buy some shares. Well, I can use this portfolio management button here. Okay. And I can say, I want to add this to my income portfolio. I click that. Okay, and hit the add button. And now I have added Snap-on to my portfolio. So now I can go into the portfolios. Once my transaction has cleared, I can open up the edit buy sell column here. And I can go and look for Snap-on Tools. I've got it right here. I can then put in my buy price. and put in my date, put in the number of shares I bought and the price, etc., update it, and I would very simply add it to my portfolio that easily and that effectively. So the portfolio section is a very, very powerful way for you to manage your portfolios, keep track of your decisions, be able to have instant ideas of how, what the valuation metrics of your portfolio look like, where the best opportunities in your portfolio currently are, which companies you might want to sell, which companies you might want to buy more of, et cetera. You can do all of that through this wonderful portfolio section of FastGraphs. Anyway, this is how you can get the maximum utilization out of this portfolio review. I hope this has helped you and gave you some insights that you might not have had before. I love the portfolio section. I use it all the time personally, and I would recommend any of you that are subscribers build your portfolios, price them, keep track of your decisions. There's nothing better that has helped me learn how to be a better investor than looking back on transactions and decisions that I made a long time ago and seeing how those decisions have worked out and whether I was paying a reasonable valuation or not. It really helps a lot. Anyway, this has been Chuck Harnevell with a tutorial on how to get the most benefit out of our portfolio section. I hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed presenting it to you. If you really like what you saw here, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but these demos will be available on the website. Give me a like, ring the bell, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, because even though these demos will be available on the FastGraphs tool, you'll be able to find those in the YouTube channel as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Look forward to talking to you again real soon with another demo video. Thanks again, everybody. And be safe, by the way.